Just want to introduce myself. My name is Morgan. I'd like to think I'm a friend of Brad's, but I live with type 1 diabetes, and I actually found Risely coaching as a type 1 when I was going through a little bit of a unique chapter myself, and maybe some of you guys on the call can relate, but I sought out Risely because I have an amazing endocrinologist who supports me in a lot of ways, but I just needed a little bit of extra support with understanding my patterns on a deeper level. I was just feeling like I was really stuck in a rut and I was doing some of the same things over and over, like always carb counting 35 grams for every single meal I was eating and couldn't quite just change some of the behaviors I was facing down. I was also, my husband and I were in a place of, planning to start our journey of starting a family. And I knew that that was going to take some serious focus as far as getting my blood sugars into more control than I've ever experienced, and really needed like more support. I wasn't in a place where I felt like I could kind of do it on my own and get to my A1C goal of being able to safely conceive. I'd actually love to share, and Brad, I haven't shared this with you yet, that I am now pregnant and I'm super excited. And my blood sugars have been awesome and it's been really great, but it's seriously a testament to the skills that I learned with Jehan and my ability to kind of, look at my own patterns and make changes very quickly with how I'm kind of just doing different things, managing my insulin, pre-bolusing, all of the things. And I'm actually going to be working with Jehan again here very soon. She's going to be supporting me through my pregnancy, so I feel very blessed with that. But I just wanted to share a little bit because it was seriously one of the most impactful experiences I've had since being diagnosed with type 1. I needed some new skills. So I don't know if any of you guys are in a place where you might feel like you're a little bit stuck in a rut. You might be facing down a new chapter, whether it's a new job, maybe you're preparing for a surgery and you have to get your A1C to a certain place, or maybe you're like me and you're preparing for pregnancy, or even navigating some of the awesome hormonal shenanigans that come along with menopause. I know that's sometimes something that we talk about too, but it was a tool that was absolutely instrumental for me, and so I'm super excited to introduce you to my coach. Jehan, she's one of the amazing coaches at Risely, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what the heck Risely is, and kind of just run you guys through a really cool exercise and see if Risely could be something that could help anybody else on this call.
Thank you, Morgan. You guys, one of the words that describes me is excitable. And this is one of the things that makes me most excitable is working with clients like Morgan, and then especially when they're prepping for pregnancy and then hearing that they are pregnant. And so this huge smile is not only for all of you, but this is just like, I'm so excited to, as I call myself, I deliver babies at Risely as a coach for clients who are pregnant. So that's one of my, I guess I would say, specialties. But I also love working with people, anyone really, who are ready to commit to working with the mind and the body and putting it together, because I truly believe that type 1 is just as much, if not more, a mental game than it is a physical game, right? We know, everyone here knows what goes into it. It's not as easy as do the things you're supposed to do and that's it. But I'm jumping ahead because, again, I'm excitable and getting excited for it. So let me pause and introduce myself. I'll do an intro and then, like Morgan said, share kind of who Risely is, what we do. And then I would love to lead us in a little kind of like coaching exercise and reflection. So during my intro, if you don't have a paper and pen yet, maybe grab one or somewhere where you can take notes. And also towards the end here, I would love to be able to see some of your beautiful faces if you're able to, and we can have like a group share and a conversation. So just a heads up, I might be calling on some of you if you're open to that. Anyways, I am Jehan Tappe. I've had type 1 for almost 29 years. I was diagnosed when I was 10, and I am a health coach here at Risely Health. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina with my husband and my our two daughters. They are 9 and 8, soon to be 10 and 8. I'm currently on the Omnipod 5, Dexcom G6, but I've done MDI, I've been on Medtronic, I've been on the t:slim pump. So wherever you are, whatever delivery method you're on, I've been either on it or something close to it. And I'm honored to be here tonight as your guest speaker to share my story, and again, share kind of how my life was transformed by Risely, and then just share kind of a little bit of what we do. And hopefully my goal is to leave you all with an action step that you can leave tonight saying like, oh wow, like I learned something and I can take action. Leaving this, whether it's just being aware of a pattern, or maybe it's like starting to pre-bolus a little bit more, whatever that action step is for you, that you can leave with something tangible. First, though, I'd love to share kind of my type 1 story and how I got here. So, like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 10. And when I was diagnosed, and even through my whole life, I've had a ton of support from my friends and family, even from like diagnosis. When I would have sleepovers as a kid, my friends would want to give me my nighttime injection. And so my mom taught them how to give me an injection at a sleepover. And it was like they were all involved. And I'm so grateful for that. We did fundraising and all of the things that you wanted to do. And everyone thought like, oh, look, Jehan has it all together. She's got her diabetes perfect. Everything's fine. And I was very open about my diabetes. I would talk about my tech. I would go up to other people that had type 1 who had their pump showing. And as you can tell, open to talk about it, right? But I was completely hiding how much I was struggling and how hard it really was. It was this mask of like, oh, yep, everything's fine, totally great, no problems here. But I hit a really dark period of burnout after having my second daughter. My A1C was like a 6.4. So on paper, my doctor's like, you're good, not a problem. But I was extremely burnout from all things diabetes, right? From the constant, we all know, no breaks of it, 24/7. It's unrelenting. You don't get a day off from it. If you do, you pay for it, right? I was really harsh and judgmental towards myself, really like critical of all of the things I did with my diabetes. I felt like I was doing it wrong. You know, those thoughts of like, you know what you should be doing, why aren't you doing it? I mean, I don't know if anyone can raise their hand and put in the chat. If you've told yourself any of these things, I would love to know in the chat or raise your hand. Have you ever said like, I'm feeling like a failure? Brad, thank you. I should be doing this. Why can't I do it? I know I'm supposed to. People think that I should be doing it. I feel guilty for it. I feel shame about my diabetes. Like everyone thinks I have it together and I don't. All of those really heavy things that can come with burnout, I was experiencing. And part of it too was I had a really extreme fear of lows, and it stemmed from a seizure that I had when I was 11. I was diagnosed not even for a year, and I had a seizure in the middle of the night. And so I carried that for almost 20 years of like this fear of low blood sugars. And I hit my breaking point at an endocrinologist appointment. So I would go endo appointment after endo appointment. I was going every probably 4 or 5 months at that point. Your numbers are high overnight, let's change your basals. Your numbers are high overnight, let's change your basal. And I go, yep, okay. But I was terrified of going low overnight. Anyone else scared of lows or overnight? Raise your hand if you are, put it in the chat. I was terrified of being low overnight. And so I just would purposely run my blood sugars high. Katie, I see your hand, thank you. Liam, yeah, I would just run my blood sugars high. I would either like have a snack and not bolus for it or bolus half, or if like, God forbid I was in range, I would have to put a 10 basal on. Like, no way I'm going to bed like in range, like under 140. And finally, at one of these appointments, my doctor said, for probably the 10th time, let's up your basals overnight, which I never did. Up your basals, you're running high overnight. I kind of like screamed. I said, it is not my basals. It is me. I am terrified of going low overnight. I'm terrified I'm going to die. It's me. I'm purposely running high. And she looked at me and she said, okay, do you want some anxiety medication to deal with this? And I looked at her and I said, no. Like, is there someone that I can talk to that understands this? And she said, I'll see if I can find anyone who like you can talk to about it. And I ended up very soon after that seeing Risely on social media. And it was immediately this like, oh my gosh, I think this is exactly what I need. And it's come to me. The universe, God, whatever you believe in has brought this to me because I need this right now. And it really was a calling to me personally and now professionally, because I enrolled in Risely's group coaching program as a client, and my life completely changed. One Riselyism we have, which I'm sure I'm going to be talking about later, is diabetes affects everything and everything affects your diabetes. And so once I started really healing my relationship with my type 1, and that's really what it was like healing my relationship with type 1 and myself, and learning to trust myself and my insulin and my body and all of these things, all the other areas of my life like fell in alignment and started to change too, as I started to like treat myself more kindly and love myself and all the things that like I wanted to be doing with my type 1 diabetes, but I couldn't. So after I went through coaching and my life being changed, I started my journey to become a health coach. So I went back to school. My girls cheered me on while I was going back to school, and I studied for my exam to become a national board certified health and wellness coach. And they saw me scream of excitement when I passed my exam. And so it was exciting for the whole family as I did that with them watching me. And so I began working at Risely about 4 years ago. I currently lead our group coaching program, but I also see one-on-one clients like Morgan as well. And like I said, I love supporting women who are prepping for pregnancy, on their journey to motherhood, in pregnancy, or when the babies come and then it's like, like how do I do this while being a mom and having type 1, right? I get it. But I also really love just supporting anyone who's open to digging deeper and realizing that body and mind coming together is really what can make the impact in type 1, right? We don't just look at your numbers and your patterns. Yes, we open Dexcom Clarity and we open Libre and say, let's look at your reports and what's going on. But then we dig in to say like, but tell me what's really going on here, right? So really helping people who can break through those mental blocks and challenges is like lights me up as well. So let me share a few slides and share a little bit more about, if you can see them, kind of what we do. That was my intro. And so I want to share a little bit about what we do. So what we're going to cover, I already covered my T1D story. We'll talk about who Risely is, what we do, go through a little coaching exercise, and then would love a group share again for all of you to interact with me, and I can interact with you and get to know you and hopefully walk away with some action steps. But first, who is Risely? What is our mission? So at Risely Health, we know that most people living with type 1 diabetes feel lost or stuck in a cycle of frustration. Our transformational model for coaching and education is leading a movement to redefine type 1 diabetes care so people can reclaim the life they deserve. A little bit more about who we are. Our founder was diagnosed at age 7, and almost every one of us who work at Risely, we are a small but mighty team. We have type 1, and if we don't have type 1, there are people who are extremely close to it. Like our coaching manager, her son has type 1, or they're very passionate about the mission. So we are very passionate about what we do in helping people with type 1 because we live it and we get it. And so living with type 1, we know that it is a daily lived 24/7 experience, right? And we know that most people living with type 1 aren't getting the support they need in a typical 15-minute doctor's appointment. So we build a health coaching model that helps thousands of people reclaim the life they deserve. And even if you have the best support team with your endo and your doctor, if I wish the whole world were full of Brads, right? But Brad can only do so much in every appointment with so many patients that you see. And even with that amazing support team, they just don't have the space and the time in our traditional healthcare setting to be digging into things that health coaching would. So with health coaching, you might get weekly accountability. You're getting a deeper dive. You're getting someone to really understand your life and what you're doing and help you understand how to get through some of those blocks where you're stuck. Really be able to dive deep into patterns, into your behaviors. And so much of coaching is really like, let's look at what's below the surface, right? And dig into it that you can't do in a 15-minute appointment. So what exactly does coaching look like? This is like super high level, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys, like, what does it look like to have personalized support at Risely? So let's think about, for me or like Morgan, we were person number one, step number one, we were, tired of feeling stuck in a cycle of frustration. You're like, I need to change something, but I don't know what. Let me start working with Risely. What you would do on your first, in your first session, let's say you did one-on-one coaching, because we have one-on-one coaching, group coaching. It looks a little bit different, but let's just use one-on-one as an example. You would work with your coach to go through a guided exploration of all areas of your life. Remember, type 1 affects everything. Everything affects your type 1. So we don't just let's look at your numbers and your patterns. Let's look at your sleep. Let's look at your stress. What are you doing for exercise? What's your nutrition? What's your mindset? What are the relationships that you have with other people and work? And how is that showing up in the decisions that you're making for your type 1? Because we know that they do. We've lived it and we know that they're there. Then the person will leave each coaching session with practical action steps And they have support in between calls to help foster accountability. So what you'll do on your sessions with your coach, if you go through one-on-one, or even there's part of this in group coaching, is like, it's a mix of education, it's a mix of digging deeper and reflection and seeing what's going on with you. But the goal is that you leave every session with action steps and like kind of accountability for those action steps. And what happens at the end of coaching, and even at the end of like one session, right? Your self-efficacy increases. You feel empowered and confident in your management, which means you're seeing improved numbers and seeing mindset. And so the goal is, I've told Morgan this, I've told other clients, is like, I would love to coach you forever, right? But my goal is like, I'm the mama bird and I'm trying to get you to fly. So in coaching, to explain what coaching does versus peer support, coaching is about helping you look inward to see what works best for you and helping you understand how to solve problems so that when you're done with coaching, no matter what type 1 challenge comes up, you can solve it on your own. You're going to get the tools that you need now to solve anything that comes up later, because every one of us on this call also knows type 1 changes, right? It's not a set it and forget it. It's not, let me spend the next 3 months mastering diabetes and I'm going to figure it out and then I never have to touch it again, right? That's not what happens. So in coaching, we want to help you become confident and empowered to do these things on your own. So how does it look different from peer support, which one is not better than the other. This group is amazing. It is amazing to have the support group, but it's different than what coaching would give you. It addresses different things. So this example here is someone coming to, let's say, a peer group and saying, I really want to start logging my numbers and I really want to pre-bolus, but I just can't. Like, what do you guys think? Peer support might look like sharing ideas. Like Jennifer might say, hey, Sherry, like I do this. Why don't you do that? Or Fred might say, hey, Trisha, like, have you tried setting an alarm? Because that's what I do. And that's a great way to get new ideas and new suggestions and new tips. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But if you're feeling really stuck, a coach can help you uncover solutions really personal to you. And so I'm not going to give you suggestions. I'm going to say, hey, Sherry, tell me, what have you tried so far with logging? All right, like what keeps getting in your way? I know you keep wanting to do it, but what's getting you stuck? Like, what do you think is really at the root of that? And it might turn out that like, oh, you're not prioritizing yourself. Let's talk about that. Like, why aren't you prioritizing yourself? And does a mindset shift need to change there? How can you prioritize yourself more? Because we know that if getting to the root, which is one of my favorite things, and I have it on one of my many Post-it notes, like really get to the root, that's what you need to do. If we don't get to the root, we're going to keep trying different things, right? We're going to say, well, maybe if I got this new planner, maybe if I set the alarms. But if deep down, I'm not prioritizing myself and I'm putting work and I'm putting everything else ahead of me, doesn't matter how fancy the planner is, right? It's not going to happen. So what we do is we get down, we help you figure out what is getting you stuck, help you uncover solutions to move forward, and really find ways to do this that you can build long-term sustainable change on your own. That is our hope for you. So with that, I would love to now move into a little coaching exercise and group share for everyone. So again, if you have a paper and pencil, grab one. Would love for you to take some notes, and then we're going to open it up for everyone to talk in a little bit. So many of us, when we think about, well, like I want to improve my type 1, we're going to think numbers, right? Like, well, I want a better A1C, I want higher time in range. For those of you on CGMs, you might be looking at your time in range wondering, like, how do I improve it? Did you know that every 15 minutes of your day is equal to 1% time in range? Has anyone heard this before?
Is that for 14 days, 7 days?
So if you think about just in one day, if you split up,
Ah,
like 15 minutes equals
gotcha.
like almost 100%. I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you think about it for one day. So when we think about increasing our time in range, it can be helpful to think about like smaller chunks, right? What if I were in range for like 15 more minutes of my day? Well, there's 1% of my day if I'm trying to get a higher time in range for this day. What about if it were like an hour? Like, oh my gosh, if I figured out a way to be in range 2 hours post meal, that's 8% of one day. 8% of one day. And if I nail that every morning at breakfast or every dinner or whatever it is, oh my gosh, that's going to make a huge percentage, right? And so to do that, we like to think about what can we do to fine tune our diabetes and find patterns. And so we like to think about there are two different buckets when we think about fine tuning our diabetes. The first bucket are these practical settings. These are basal rates, insulin to carb ratio, correction factors, other settings that you have on your pump, or if you're on MDI, like how long, what's your active insulin time, right? And also for all of this, whether you're on MDI, no matter what pump you're on, these can all of this you can relate to any of this no matter what your delivery method is, okay? So there's that first bucket. And I think so many times we think about like, well, my rates must be off, that's why, or this must be off, that's why, right? But we know that there's also common behaviors that can help fine tune our management. Because even with the best, most perfect settings in place, let's say Brad helps you get the most perfect settings in place for your body, right? But then you're pulling back on your insulin, or you're not correcting, or you're afraid of going low, then it doesn't matter what those settings are, right? It doesn't matter at all, because the behaviors are really a huge part of our diabetes management. So there are things like insulin timing. When are you taking your insulin? Are you pre-bolusing? And pre-bolusing means, are you taking it an appropriate amount of time for the food that you're eating? Like, are you taking it 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time? On average for a meal. That's average for a meal, depending on what you're having, depending on what your blood sugar is. Or are you taking your insulin when you start eating or after you start eating? How much insulin are you taking? Are you taking too much or too little? That's going to have an effect on your time and range, right? Are you counting your macros? It's not just about carbs. What we talk about with Risely too is how fats and protein affect your blood sugar and typically have a delayed response. And so what do you keep taking into account when you're actually using your insulin to carb ratio, right? What's your starting point? So did you start your meal at a higher number? Are you starting at 200 already and not taking a correction with that? So how are you going to get in range if you start at 200 and don't take a correction? And the last common behavior is fears. Am I afraid of being too high or too low? And is that having an effect on the decisions that I'm making? So what I would like for you to do is take a minute now. And this little reflection question on the right-hand side is reflect on which of these is contributing the most to out of range numbers for you. When you look at this list, jot down whichever ones it is. There might be one and you highlight it, or you might say like, oh my gosh, it's all of them, or there's two that are really calling out to me. Take a minute and jot them down. When you think about what is causing you to have the most out of range numbers. And I'm going to do a blood sugar check while you guys do that. If you're open to it, I would love to see in the chat what's coming up for everyone. Brad, pre-bolusing or giving too little of insulin. Yeah, that like dreaded, oh, I forgot, I'm about to eat. I'll give you guys just another second before we move on. Katie not doing macro counts and not pre-bolusing, yep. And you guys know I'm asking this and we're sharing this, which I think everyone here probably has felt this already on these types of calls, but this is no judgment, no shame, right? We all have type 1. We all know how hard it is. And we all have our own challenges with that. I am not perfect just because I'm a coach, I'm not perfect at all. And so no judgment, no shame with any of these conversations. Okay. So You can keep putting some stuff in the chat. Okay, I see some more adding more categories, Leanne, mostly insulin timing, food choices, stacking foods. Yep, okay, great. I love that you added some things that you knew were challenges. Pre-bolusing, undercorrecting when starting low. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna take this to the next step, okay? So we already kind of did this first bullet point, which is which are contributing most to your out of range numbers. I want you to think about now, are there certain times of the day when this shows up the most? So sometimes it can be helpful for me and for clients if we think about like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed by all of my day and all of my numbers, that can be difficult. So I'd love for you to think about like, is there one time of day where this is showing up the most? Like, am I always spiking after breakfast, or during work? Am I really having a hard time pre-bolusing? Or is it overnight numbers? When is that showing up for you? Next, I want you to ask yourself, what barriers are stopping you from making progress? Is it education? Is it, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing? Is it a mindset? Like some of those things I talked about in the beginning of the call, is it thoughts of like, I've tried a million times, why should I try now? Right? I failed before, nothing's going to change. Is it a bad habit? Right? I just always just run and get my food and don't count any carbs and I just do it. So really think about what barriers are stopping you. And then after you come up with those barriers, I want you to lead with curiosity and kindness over judgment. And I'm going to explain the magnifying glass and the hammer here in a second. Knowing sometimes action can even be a new mindset or awareness of a behavior. What small action you could take or make progress. So this hammer and magnifying glass, if there's anything that I want you to take from this call, is this, okay? The hammer versus the magnifying glass. So many times we come at ourselves and our diabetes with a hammer. Harshness, judgment. Why did you do that? Your number's 250. You shouldn't have had that second piece of cake. You should have pre-bolused. You should know better. All of those terrible things were coming down on ourselves really negatively, right? Instead, how would it feel to pick up a tool that's maybe just as heavy, but has a very different outcome? Imagine picking up a magnifying glass if you're 250 and had that second piece of cake. And you said, okay, I'm going to get really curious right now. What happened? Okay, I'm going to treat myself with kindness and curiosity right now with this magnifying glass in my hand. I'm putting down the hammer. I'm not going to be harsh. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm going to get my magnifying glass and get curious. You know what? I did have that second piece of cake. I probably should have pre-bolused. I didn't, but what can I do now to make a change? I'm going to get a glass of water. I'm going to take a correction, and let me go out for like a quick 5-minute walk, or let me do some squats right here or something to get my insulin moving, right? It's the same problem, but I'm coming at it with a different tool. A hammer, harsh, judgment. You're an idiot. You shouldn't have done that. Don't eat cake again. Whatever those thoughts are, right? Versus magnifying glass. Oh my gosh, I'm so curious. What is really at the root of this, right? Oh, I didn't want to stop and take insulin. And now let's get into that. So I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes. This might be a new kind of exercise for you to do, but give you a couple minutes, and then I would love to hear kind of action thoughts, action steps, and kind of what came out of this for you, and we can have a conversation, okay? And I'm wondering if I can put some music on like I do on our calls. Let's see.
The Jeopardy music is always a safe bet.
And we go a very different way, Morgan. Hold on, let me see. Can I? Apps. Sometimes that's a little much for people when we get like the journaling music on, and it
That's
gets kind of
true.
like,
And what did you wager?
let's see. I'm gonna put this on. Let me see if it'll play for a minute. Can you hear this music playing? Piano? Okay, I'll give you guys just a couple minutes to write on this, and then we'll talk. I'll give you guys like another minute. When the song's over, we'll start chatting.
Should we be typing it in or wait to chat about it after?
You can type it in, or if people want to come off mute, I'm open to that too. Both, maybe type it in and we can call on people, whatever you think, Brad.
Gotcha.
You know the group better.
Yeah, there's some that are less talkers and they like to totally chat, and some like to chat. So yeah, we can open it up.
Okay.
Mics later on too if certain people want to.
All right, I'm going to stop this music and maybe stop sharing my screen unless, does anyone else need it open? Does anyone else need to see the screen? Or am I good to stop sharing? Good? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of your faces bigger and better. Does anybody want to come off mute and share kind of any reflections from that? Like, oh my gosh, this was ridiculous, or this is the first time I've ever done this, or that really resonated with me.
I can jump in if you want, Jehan, to just kind of get the ball moving.
Yeah, please, Morgan.
Yeah, so I mean, probably a little bit different than when you and I like first kind of did this, but I feel like I'm definitely, just working through like a fear of highs right now. Just with the little bean that's growing inside me, I'm definitely like hyper conscious to that. And I'm like experiencing lows and then rebound highs right before bed because I'm like scared of going high before bed. So I feel like I'm over bolusing at dinner and then I'm going low and then I'm ending up high. So it's very counterintuitive. Um, and I think like what's getting in my way right now is just not trusting my technology and like trusting the settings that I worked really hard with my endocrinologist to like make sure are right. If I probably got out of my way, I think I probably wouldn't be having so many lows and then rebound highs. But sometimes that's like the toughest thing for me is just like getting out of my own way and feeling like I have to be so in control. And sometimes it's not always the best thing. And sometimes the technology might take a little bit better care of me sometimes.
Yeah. Morgan, as always, you do such a nice job of like looking inward and seeing what's really going on. And Morgan knows this too of like, if we just looked at the highs, it wouldn't be enough, but she worked her way backwards to see like what's going on before that. I'm having lows. Well, why am I having the lows? Oh, wow. It's because I don't want to be high overnight and I'm not trusting my technology. And until you like figure that out, you can't stop the highs, right? Morgan, can
Oh
I
boy.
ask you, what do you think you need most to stop this pattern? Like, what would help you the most to stop this pattern that you're having?
Oof. Well, I feel like accountability is one for me. Like I need to be kind of like I need like an external source of accountability, whether it's like my husband or an amazing coach, to be like, this is the change that we decided we're gonna make. We're gonna like trust the technology tonight, and then to like just have that kind of partner for accountability so that I don't just kind of default to, you know what, I'm just gonna give myself a little bit more because I think I need it for my dinner. So I feel like having external accountability is probably going to be something that's important for me.
Yeah. And even the accountability and saying that, like, oh, I'm going to trust my tech tonight. Like
Yeah.
saying it out loud can make it stronger. That's something that I did when I was having my fear of lows overnight. Instead of saying, what we tell ourselves is like a self-fulfilling prophecy, guys. This is like so powerful, right? What we say is what we believe and who we are. And this is what I tell my girls all the time, right? What you say is true. And so for me, kind of like what Morgan's going through now, before she makes that choice, she's going to decide, am I making a choice because I don't want to be high and I don't trust my tech? Then she's going to override it, right? But if she's saying tonight, I'm trusting my tech, she's going to use it and see what happens with her magnifying glass and be curious. Like when I had my fear of lows overnight, instead of every night saying, oh my gosh, you're terrified you're going to get low overnight and die. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Of course, I'm going to act in a way that fulfills that, right? I had to start telling myself, this was my mantra before bed. In bed, you are working to trust your body, your insulin, your patterns, and your settings. And so before bed, instead of changing my basal rate at first, maybe instead of like, you know, dropping it by 50%, I might drop it by like 40%. And then I got to like dropping it to 30%. And then I was like, well, I'm still okay and alive. I could drop it to 25%, right? Like those baby steps. But what we tell ourselves is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have to like rewrite that story that we're telling ourselves. Does anybody else have like thoughts that they feel like are self-fulfilling prophecies that they want to change? I know, Leanne, you were saying you've worked hard to stop being so reactive with the hammer. I'm wondering, does anyone else feel like they have thoughts that they wish they could like change around their type 1, whether it's with the hammer or something else?
I'm coming kind of from a devil's advocate side because I mean, part of these things, yes, I could work on, but I think it also gives me the humanity to be like, I'm not perfect. I forget to pre-bolus sometimes, just like a lot of my patients. If I was doing everything perfect, it'd be just so hard to empathize with my patients and understand and be like, everybody's doing that. Everybody under boluses, everybody's afraid of lows or the hypoglycemic binge where you eat everything in the fridge because their adrenaline just doesn't go away like that, when you eat something. So I think, I don't know, some of these things I'm kind of like, I don't really, I don't really need to invest that much more time when I want to enjoy the rest of my time with my life and thinking about other things. So that's the tough
Mm-hmm.
part is I think it's
Yeah.
just about balance because we can sometimes just invest so much time into diabetes where we just don't get to live like a normal human being. So that's a tough rut too.
Yeah. It's that like, I dealt with this, Brad, too, and it was the change of being like proactive to reactive. Like I found when I was spending time that I felt like was going to be a ton of time on the front end, actually like carb counting and pre-bolusing, I was like, oh, look how much time I saved on the back end because I'm not, 50 or I'm not 250 and chasing this high for 4 hours. And so it was that like, how can I be proactive and not reactive? And you're right, like we're all humans. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect all the time. And so, um, yeah, I wonder, like thinking about that with like the proactive piece, is there something that came up for anyone where they're like, you know what, there is something small that I feel like I can take away from this? Or like there is like one super small action item, even if it's, oh, I'm going to start noticing a pattern. Is anyone walking away with an action item? Looks like maybe Mary.
I I've been dealing with chronic highs while I've been sick. And my first thought in answering the questions was, I don't trust my pump. It isn't doing what I want it to do because the numbers just stay high. The pump gives me the correction. It doesn't work. It gives another correction. I'm doing corrections on top and you can't get the number to go down. And part of that is education. And the same thing, kind of in a different perspective, is pre-planning for exercise. Sometimes I don't get time to pre-plan.
Yeah.
And you just got to deal with the time and where you are and take your extra carbs with you. But I've wanted to be able to exercise with confidence and just do what I want to do and still come out good at the other end. And I can't do that either. So I've got to feel better to
Yeah.
get the numbers down, But again, it's the top on the list was, I don't trust my pump. That's what I wrote. And then trying to explain it, it's what my perspective is in the last couple days. And action items, I think it would be more education. I've asked, how do I do corrections when I'm sick? And I haven't gotten like, test and correct and test and correct. And that's all, I'm doing that, but it doesn't, I guess I want the perfection and I'm trying, but there is no magic number to say, well, if you put in 2 units instead of a half a unit, you'll get there, but you won't go low. It's
Yeah.
a
Yes, I
shot in the
hear
dark
you.
all the time.
Yeah. Can I ask you a few questions about this?
Sure.
And is it Mary Pat?
Mary Pat.
Mary Pat, well, thank you for sharing and coming off mute and sharing your experience. And like, you're not alone, especially hearing when we're sick and we're having that insulin resistance. And it's like our pump is it's not working the way that it should be when we're sick,
That's
right?
exactly it.
Yeah. And something that I heard you say was like, I wish there were someone to tell me like exactly what to take without no, like going low, right? Like, what's this
Yeah.
magic answer?
Yeah.
And I heard you say that like what you're taking now isn't enough. Like what your pump giving you isn't enough. And sometimes we like our technology is wonderful, right? But we know more than our pump in certain situations. Like for me,
Oh yeah.
I just got over and I'm recovering from having COVID, and I knew my pump was not giving me enough insulin. It didn't know that I was sick, right?
That was one of my experiences in
Yeah.
pneumonia.
Yeah,
And
so you're in tune with your
yeah,
body. You're in tune with your pump. You know that you need more than what it's giving you. And so I wonder if in those situations you could say, I know that this isn't enough. What do I think would be the next step to try to feel empowered to kind of like take that into your own hands and say like, hey, pump, like you don't know right now that I'm sick. And starting to something else that we like to say at Risely is like everything is an experiment. You can't fail when
well,
you're
that's what,
experimenting.
exactly. It's always an experiment.
Yeah.
That's not
So,
the answer I wanted to hear.
right? Listen, and that's welcome to coaching because it's never the answer you want to hear. It is the hard work of like experimenting on your own and seeing what works for you because what works for you is going to work different for Fred and Jennifer and Trisha and me, right?
I know.
So what
But
would help you feel more confident to tackle this with that like experimenting mindset?
with the experimenting mindset, or just
Yeah.
keep watching and see, but then it's like the stacking boluses.
Mm,
And so I've never really had a problem stacking boluses when I'm not sick, but I definitely do it when I am sick.
yeah.
And
And
then
what
I
are the
watch for the
results?
low.
Yeah.
What?
You watch for the low. Do you get low if you're doing it?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually the insulin kicks in. I get to that right number
Yeah.
after too
Okay.
many hours of experimenting.
Mary Pat, it sounds like you know what your body needs. Like when you're not sick,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. But when you're sick, you need more insulin.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
But that's where I keep looking for what education am I missing that would make this easier?
Yeah. Yeah. There are, I hear you. It's like wondering, are there some education gaps that could help me here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like we can speak to education gaps, right? And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be like salesy and like sell you guys on Risely, right? That's like what I'm doing right now, right? Like, of course, you can help with education gaps. I also wonder, you know your body best, right? So, what education and feedback can you be learning from what your blood sugars are doing based on what you're doing? Like, how can you teach yourself based on the results that you're getting?
I think an action item would be write it down. Is that what you mean by logging?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, well, I'm writing that down for the antibiotics I'm taking.
Yeah. So it sounds like adding it on there, right? You're doing it for the antibiotics, and it's something that you can do so you know
Yeah,
for next time, hey, last time I was sick, this is what I did. And
yeah.
then, Mary Pat, that's your education. That is like Mary Pat's sick guide, right?
Oh, that's going back to diabetes 101 with the nutrition stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
I
think you'll
thought I had graduated from that class.
it's like right constant. We know that it's just
Yeah.
constant, and
Okay.
learning how to like know your body and how to shift to whatever challenges come up, whether it's this illness or travel, like what are the tools that I need to know my body and what works for it. And you're doing such a beautiful job of doing that. Like you are, like you said, already writing things down because of antibiotics. You're curious, you are um want to know more and fill in those education gaps. You're like doing such a great job already.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Um, and you had said one more thing that I would love to open this up to the group too for a couple minutes. You said like about workouts, how you would love to just sometimes we don't have time to pre-plan and then we have to take a snack and because we don't want to go low. And I have like this idea of everything with diabetes is a trade-off, right? It really stinks.
Well, but one of the things if I'm walking, it's more aerobic. If I'm
Yeah.
doing Zumba toning, it's more strength training, I think.
Yeah.
And I react very differently between the two. And I didn't know that. So that's the kind of thing that uh, I didn't figure out on my own really. And then somebody said that, I said, well, and I wasn't writing it down,
Yeah.
but that I had noticed. So I know when to take a couple carbs before I start or don't, it'll be fine. And I might have to take a correction bolus afterwards without carbing up. So
Yeah.
that's, so there's a part of it's experimenting, but, and maybe other people react differently if, if I might go that far that people react differently to different exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how you've reacted. And like you said, you had to like fill in those education gaps. And I'm just thinking about Morgan, I'm thinking about like our group coaching program. We do educational calls and then you like one is all on exercise, right? It's like a 2 hour call on exercise. But then it's like, okay, after you learn the education, go and practice it, right? Because it's not just about the education, it's about taking action because we know we could read all the books, we could listen to all the podcasts, we could be on as many calls as we want, but if we're not taking action afterwards, nothing's going to change.
Yeah,
Right?
applying what you learned. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Applying it. Absolutely. That application. Um, thank you, Mary Pat, for like kicking us off here and getting us.
I'm glad I could join the group tonight.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I missed anything in the chat, if there was something that anyone else who had a question or like wanted to come off mute and talk. Let's see.
Question.
Yes. Hi, Dave.
So there's a dilemma that I want to ask generally if anybody has any thoughts. So pre-bolus is recommended by many for good reason because there's a delay with the insulin that we're currently using for our main short-term insulin, which is Humalog. So it doesn't really kick in for about 30 minutes,
Mhm.
but then it lasts for almost 3 hours. And the dilemma is that it doesn't match what our body does when it's healthy. The way we're created is that the feedback is a lot tighter. The insulin isn't set in there and then it lasts for 3 hours. It just uses it and then it's done. So would a shorter term insulin be a better tool for the pump and the sensors that we're currently using instead of Humalog?
That's a great question, Dave. You clearly have a lot of knowledge on the topic and you're curious
So
on
here's my
better.
dilemma with pre-bolus. So
Yeah.
over the years, there's been instances where with the best intentions, I will try to do a pre-bolus,
Yeah.
and then something will happen. A phone will ring, somebody will come in and they'll start talking, and then you forget to eat.
Yeah.
Well, you've taken the insulin and now you've forgotten, and a half hour later, you're in some serious trouble. So because of that, and that because it's happened more than occasionally, I refrain from trying to do that too much. And I typically will wait till I'm sitting there with the plate in front of me before I start that, because so I'm wondering if a different type of insulin would be better to tighten that closed loop instead of having it be such a long delay. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I think there are, insulins that can work a little faster and be in your, like, that you need a shorter pre-bolus time. And it sounds like what's getting in your way could be sometimes like those interruptions, right? That might be getting in the way of like your eating and the actual pre-bolus. I wonder, like, can you tell me a little bit more about those? Or those things that are happening at work, personal life, a little bit of both? Like, what typically pulls you away from eating time?
Well, again, it's something that hasn't happened for a while because I refrained from doing it anymore.
Yeah.
But years ago, when I was doing injections before I had the pump and the sensor, I would take the injections, and then usually I would try to be, uh, you know, doing it away from people so I wouldn't bother them.
Mm.
And so then I would do that, come into the room, and then be eating. Well, on the way back to the room, somebody says hi, you get interrupted, 10 minutes conversation, 15
Yeah.
minutes. And then they say, oh, by the way, can you help me put this up on the shelf? And you really don't even go back to eat.
Hmm.
You get, you get sidetracked from that. So that, and it only has to happen occasionally, once or twice. And then you're basically in a low blood sugar condition, and you've got a room full of people wondering why are you laying on the floor. And
Yeah.
when that happens to it affects other people
Yeah.
who are now perpetually afraid that something's going to happen to you. And it's just something that I refrain from doing because of that. So
Yeah. You're not
when I
alone in that.
when
You're
I
not
was in
alone.
when I was employed, it would happen. I think it happened twice while I was in the lunchroom at work. Something came up and we just got sidetracked.
Yeah.
But it also happened once at a family get together, and when you get pretty violent when you're goofy and low, and so people see you flopping around and doing stuff, and it's a devastatingly emotionally hard thing for others to see that. So to stay away from that, pre-bolus is something that I've refrained from doing.
Yeah.
Just hoping for a better technology to close that. Those are
Yeah.
my thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. And like I said, there is a faster insulin that maybe Brad can or your endo can talk to you about as well. That like it does work quicker, but it's there's still that that piece of if something could interrupt you, the same type of thing could happen. And so, not to get too you know mindset woo woo on all of you. But I think this could be an opportunity for others who are struggling with this. I myself, too, as someone who works and as a mom and as a wife and a friend and all the things and a daughter, it's in those moments can be really hard to say, hey, actually, can I come back to you? I already took my insulin. I really need to eat right now. Can I be back in 10 minutes to help you? Right? To like have that pause. It can be really hard to do that, especially if we're not used to putting ourselves, our needs in front of other people's needs. So something that comes up a lot with us type ones is we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to have to take our insulin in front of others. Of course, Dave, we don't want to get low in front of other people. And it's traumatic. It's not just hard for us, but for the people around us, right? We don't want people to worry and all of those things. And so sometimes that hard, like prioritizing ourselves can look like I need to eat, and then I would love to get back and help you. And the people that love you and care about you aren't going to say, no, I need you right now, right? They're going to be like, oh, of course. Like, can I do anything to help you? And so it's an opportunity to kind of get vulnerable with them and say, like, can I step away and eat, and then I'll come back and help you, versus let me put all of my needs to the side, right? I'm not going to pre-bolus, because what if someone needs me and I won't be able to eat? And certainly there are situations, especially in jobs, where that can happen, right? You're working in an emergency room. You're a school teacher. There are jobs where, like, even as moms, especially of little kids, of babies, like, there are jobs that sometimes there isn't time where you can actually stop and eat. And maybe in those situations, you aren't doing a full pre-bolus. I would love to leave you guys with one tip before I ask Morgan to, like, close this out here. It's this idea of something called minimal viable carbs. Has anybody heard this tip before? No? So it's this idea of, if you don't know what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat it, especially think about, like, going to a restaurant or a party, or you're at work and you're like, I think I'm going to have lunch soon, but I don't know what time. I think the food is coming out soon, but I don't know how big the portion is. And I don't know, is it going to be in 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 10? This idea of minimal viable carbs is, how much is the minimum amount of carbs am I probably going to eat right now that I can get some insulin on board? Not the full amount, but let's say, Dave, you're going to pre-bolus and you're like, I know that I have a sandwich and some chips and a salad for lunch, and it's 60 grams. I'm not going to take the full 60 grams now, because I don't want that all on board in case I can't eat now. But let me take like half of it or a third of it, so I get some insulin on board and working. And then when you sit down to eat, oh my gosh, I can take the rest of my insulin now. Guys, I do this almost every day for lunch. I will sit down and go, like, I typically have, I don't know, 30, 40, sometimes 50 grams for lunch. I'm going to sit down. I'm probably going to go in the next 20 minutes or so. Let me give myself like a couple units just to get it started. And then once I sit down and make my lunch, I've got a little bit already going on already, and I can take the rest of what I need once I've kind of finalized my meal. And so it can help you with that pre-bolus, Dave, even if you aren't sure. Getting a little bit on board is better than nothing. And so I wonder if a mix of like a tip like that could be helpful, along with, maybe trying out a faster insulin, like sounds like you want to explore. Trisha, I love that. Yes. Questionable time. That's the perfect time to use it when you're not sure, what is coming out and how much. Let me get a little insulin on board, because I know I'm going to be eating, right? I know carbs are entering my system in the next 20 to 30 minutes. All right, I'm going to pass it on to Morgan, but I just want to tell you guys, thank you so, so much. I could be here for like the rest of the night if it weren't bedtime in my house in a few minutes. So I greatly appreciate you all asking me to come and letting me share this. And again, I hope you get something out of this, whether it's the minimal viable carbs, or pick up that magnifying glass and put down the hammer, or maybe there's a little baby action step that you can do. I'm grateful for all of you sharing and in the chat and here. So thank you guys so very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jehan. You guys, you have no idea how lucky you are to get a little flavor of Jehan's coaching, because she is seriously one of the best in the game and she is amazing. But we just wanted to make sure that you guys knew about some different resources from Risely, so that if like you're in a place where you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like you need some accountability, or you just like are needing some new knowledge or new strategies, there's so much to offer at Risely. They have amazing free resources. And they also have amazing self-guided courses. And so there's truly something that can meet you where you're at, no matter where it is. If you're in a place where you're like, I just need a little something different. So we wanted to make you aware that there is like a Risely podcast. If you are a podcast listener, you got to go take a listen, because it's so encouraging. The podcast is amazing. Lauren Bongiorno is the host of the podcast. She's had Jehan on a couple times, and she always has really, really encouraging people on the podcast to speak about, their amazing victories with type 1 diabetes and some of the challenges that they've walked through. So I can guarantee you can find something that you relate to, which is really incredible. So that's the Risely, is it called the Rising Above podcast? I have that right? Yes. Yeah, Rising Above podcast. It's
And
excellent. So go for
reclaim,
it.
and sorry, I was typing for Mary Pat. There's someone at exercise, which might be helpful for your education gaps too. If you go to the
Yes.
podcast.
Yes, there's
Thank
lots of
you.
little tidbits on exercise. I trained for a marathon last year and I listened to like a ton of Risely podcasts because there was a lot of amazing ones from runners. They also have a lot of amazing self-guided courses, you guys, that will meet you where you're at a variety of different price points, whether you're trying to learn a little bit more about diabetes and exercise, nutrition, navigating things like hormones, or mindset. So they have a lot of amazing resources like that. And then, of course, coaching is a big part of what Risely does as well. And you heard Jehan talk a little bit about one-on-one coaching as well as their amazing group coaching program. They can meet you where you're at, whether you're a male or female, like you're welcome at Risely, whether you've had diabetes for a couple months or decades. It's been really cool because after my experience with Risely, I basically begged them to let me get involved in some way because it was just such a game changer for me. And it's been so cool to meet so many encouraging people who were diagnosed 2 months ago and people who were diagnosed 4 decades ago who are going through various, Risely programs and just experiencing amazing transformation in their life. So we wanted to just make you guys aware that all of that is available. And then I'm definitely going to send some links to Brad with some of the links to some of the cool free resources that you guys can access. Jehan sent the Risely podcast in the chat. And then another thing I'm going to share with you guys, if you're interested at all in exploring coaching, either group or one-on-one, I'm going to send you a link. And essentially that link will just connect you with one of the amazing individuals at Risely who you might even end up talking with me a little bit because I've been, being a part of some of those calls once in a while. And basically they will just connect with you and talk a little bit about your diabetes journey and what you're walking through, and then try to connect you with the resource that fits where you're at with your diabetes journey the best. So, if you're interested in exploring, please don't be a stranger. Use that link. Like I said, you might just end up talking to me, and it'd be super cool to see some familiar faces after this call. Jehan, I know you've got bedtime, but if there's any other questions that you guys might have, we'd love to make sure to address anything else that might be on your mind. And Jehan, if you got to hop off because I know you got kiddos, I can always take down some of those questions.
I can stay for like 2 more minutes if anyone has any burning questions. Anyone? All right. Alicia, wait.
I haven't still to use Riley. Oh, that's
Wait,
amazing.
Alicia, is that Alicia?
Yeah,
You're the
I'm here.
DCB, Alicia?
I was on something. Let me put my camera on. Hi, everyone.
Hi!
Stacy is my coach. I've done both the boot camp. I've done individual coaching. I belong to the alumni Slack website. I've done the podcast. I've done some of the free classes. I've taken a lot of it. And
Amazing.
it is about you learning your patterns and them just helping you along. It's amazing how much we really know about our bodies, but we don't trust ourselves. So that's the biggest thing I can say about it is they're there to follow up with you and to help you trust what you see and what you're doing. They have just a really good reference book. I don't know the name of it though. Jehan, the gold book where you write down your
the diabetic health journal.
Yes, the diabetic health journal is very good. It helps you find your patterns. They're just really good. And I went through menopause. It was when I went through menopause. So it isn't just young, it's every age, every sex.
Yeah.
Oh, Alicia, when your name popped up in the chat, it was like we were the DCB again. I'm like, I know Alicia in the Zoom chat. I'm so happy to see your face and see you and hear how you are still transformed. Like that is the goal, right? And like you said, how much we know about our own bodies. It's I'm so glad you showed your face here and I got to see you.
Yeah, Brad and I talk a lot about Risely when I'm in there. So yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, I love it. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing, Alicia.
Sure.
Kelsey was one of the original people to sign up too, so she mentioned as well, and
Oh,
it started to flag after a little bit of time of, hey,
Oh.
we should bring this in. So
Yeah,
so cool.
I must have done it back in like 2018 or 2019,
Yeah.
pre-COVID days. And I think there's only like maybe 3 or 4 coaches at the time. It was pretty small squad, but it greatly helped me to like see my patterns, not just from like insulin and like the carbs I was eating, but like hormones, exercise, just like taking like stress, sleep, hydration, like taking a look at the whole picture. And like the journal was a great way to like reflect on it and like have your own playbook about yourself. And so I still have that. And it really is a way to like make you reflect back on your own patterns and like take that time. I know we all know to do that, but having like the help and like the accountability on a more regular basis is like definitely helped me have a better mindset about different scenarios that come up every single day.
Oh, Kelsey, it's nice to meet you because I know you were
Yeah,
at DCB before my time, but I've seen your
yeah,
name. I've seen your name, so it's nice to meet you and
yeah.
amazing. I'm sure Kelsey and Alicia could probably tell you this is like a taste. Like when I was like trying to figure out what exercise to do, you guys know I have like 400 slides and exercise DCB, and it was so this is a taste of what we do, and so happy to see you and meet you here too.
Yes, thank you.
Jehan,
Risely alumni in the house.
Yeah, woo-hoo. Is everyone Minnesota as well?
Minnesota.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Jehan, I
That's
love your
awesome.
questions. My wife works in sales and she's got all this verbal judo she uses on people and gets them, talking a lot more versus leading them to it. And so I got a couple here bombing. So maybe I can't go into this too much. I was kind of speaking on behalf of the guys. I think guys are a little bit more timid to kind of sign up and do all this stuff here. And there's the one here. So,
Hey.
Hi.
and I'm just wondering, sometimes we just want to dip our toe in and be like, okay, get the feel for it. Sometimes that's a big commitment. I guess guys don't want to be fixed, and know as one. Is there anything like kind of like intro, like, hey, try it for a little bit, or have a little conversation, or do a 1 month thing? Are these things a little bit longer? I know there's some group ones, but if you're doing like personal, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, Morgan might be able to talk to this a little bit more, but I would love to just share from my perspective as a coach. I have worked with a few male clients, and you're right, it's a different, like, might be a little bit not as open to share right away, right? And if you are a guy who's interested in coaching and like want to know what it was like, we have some clients that we can connect you with to figure out like, okay, like tell me what this is about. Is this going to be a fit for me? If you want to talk to someone who's gone through it, we absolutely can connect you with someone who has gone through it. And we like to try to find someone who maybe has a similar background or issues to like really see, would this be a good fit for you to talk to you about it? And I think even some of the podcast episodes that have some of that are featuring the men, to hear the conversations can be helpful just to kind of get you in that like, okay, this isn't going to be an endo appointment. This isn't going to be a dietitian telling me what to eat. This is really going to be me doing the work. And it has been really wonderful with the men that I have worked with because no one has asked these questions for them before, right? And no one has talked to them before, and we can connect them with other men who have gone through Risely. So I would say if you're interested, podcast is a great place to hear other men who have gone through it, and we can connect you with other men who have gone through it if you're curious. Morgan, program wise, I'll let you talk to that though.
Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of different options. Probably too many to get into, but as far as like different coaching program lengths, there's anything from like 2 month programs to 6 month programs. But then on top of that, our coaching staff is so unique, and you know, a lot of times they're willing to kind of like work with what an individual specifically needs to find a way to meet them where they're at. So I would say, like, if you're interested in exploring coaching at all, use that link I put in the chat and talk to someone and tell them what your needs are. Like, tell them exactly what you're worried about and what you need. And also, if you find that like it is hard for you to open up about certain things related to your diabetes, or you want like a specific type of support, like, hey, I would really like a male coach. Like, I want to talk to another dude with type 1 diabetes. You know, there are some awesome male coaches at Risely as well. And we do our best to try and find a way to like match people with the right coach for their experience. So I would say dip your toe by hopping on one of those calls and then tell that person what you need, and let them like kind of find a way to get you what you need, whether it's connecting with an alumni who's a guy who's gone through it, or connecting with other like different resources within the ecosystem. That's going to be the best way to kind of find what you're needing or what's kind of calling to you with whatever you're walking through.
Yeah. Just curious for those that have a little bit more of a preference. Is it just Alejandro? Is he the only male
Yes.
coach at this time?
Yeah, at this time he's the only male coach. Yep. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Cool.
but there have been, I wonder what the number is now, because it was at first it was predominantly women, and now we have plenty of men that come through the program. That before it was like a couple years ago it was like a big thing, like oh my gosh, but now it's just like the norm that we have men in our 101 programs, and yeah, it's and not even just like men versus women, but every single person has a different need. So like Morgan said,
Mhm.
the enrollment team really works to match you if you're doing one-on-one coaching with like the right coach. And if you would do a group coaching program, for the women that we have the group coaching program, there's multiple coaches in it, and so it's really great because you get to hear a couple different perspectives and stuff like that. So you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I definitely think women contribute so much and just great with communication here. And, you know, it was timid for me just joining this group a long time ago. And so I don't know, it's just that conundrum just being a male, why it's more difficult to either ask for help or talk about things or, you know,
Yeah.
feelings or what's going wrong. But it's just quite a conundrum. And so I'm just curious, you know, when we think about like yoga and all that stuff, it's only like Wim Hof came around and it was like, do ice
Yes.
baths and climb up mountains in your shorts. And finally, the guys could be like, okay, yeah, who, you know,
Yeah,
so
very
It's a
different to
great
be
Wim Hof
like,
accent.
yeah, yeah, very different to say like, hey, I need help. Can I go through coaching? Like having a
yeah,
conversation with your partner or someone to say like, I need some help and I want to do coaching, right? That's being really vulnerable, which is another one of like the things that makes you successful when you can be vulnerable, like in any area of your life, not just with your diabetes. So
yeah,
And this might be just a perception that I have. So if it's incorrect, please forgive me for it in advance. But a perception I have is, although like sometimes vulnerability can be a little bit challenging for men sometimes, a challenge is not as scary. So if you're a guy on this call and you are like walking through something, and you think that maybe getting some different resources from Risely could help you, I challenge you to just hop on a call with someone and just see. They might share something with you that's super impactful. They might not, but the worst that's going to happen is you're going to hop on a call, probably talk to someone who talks really fast and talks a lot like me. They're going to learn a little bit about your journey and hopefully try and give you something that's going to happen or that's going to help. But the worst that's going to happen is you're going to be exactly where you are. So I challenge you to give it a whirl. Dip your toe. Dip your toe if you need it.